Right, let's start the program today with some conversation about food. It is the Breakfast Club after all. So we know, all of you by now know that how passionate we are about driving food awareness, and that's why the happy news this morning is now that ICMR, the Indian Council of Medical Research, along with the National Institute of Nutrition, has come up with, for the first of its kind, guidelines on what is the right way to eat. What should your plate look like? What utensils should you be using? And also which oil?
So this is a comprehensive list and it goes into 15 different points. We've listed them out for you, but perhaps the one that stares at you the most, the one we're going to be taking a deep dive into, is that of processed food. Now, we've known this for a while. Even government bodies are acknowledging that packaged food should be avoided.
Now, it's very easier said than done, right? Packaged food, we all like. Why? We know it's bad for our body, but it's easy to access, easy to consume, terrible for our body, but what should we do? So on the program today, we thought we'll bring you what are the substitutes? Are there healthy options really available? So joining us for that is Suman Agarwal. She's a very renowned nutritionist and is live with us now. Good morning. Suman, thanks so much for joining us. It's breakfast time, but we are talking a lot about cravings and we're talking a lot about food. So let's sort of dip into that. You know, one of the things when it comes to eating packaged food or processed food is when we get hunger pangs. Hunger pangs that happen in the middle of the day or late in the night. Do you have some healthy substitutes into what do I do when I really want to reach out to that packet of chips?
Yeah, all these health cravings, which is chips, which is excessively salty, or samosa, etc., are of course not at all healthy for you. So what I would do or tell my clients who come to me is that instead of, first of all, you need to eat your meals on time. So don't miss the 4 hour gap. If your breakfast is at 9, make sure lunch is at 1, snack at 5, dinner at 9. Once you have your meals on time, the craving will be little lesser. But even so, if you still craving, then go for, say, coconut water, go for soup or some salad which you can stir fry. Don't have grains at that time because that will mess up your next meal. So that's what I tell everyone. Fruit is also fine. Put some salt to make it salty. So these are the cravings we tell people to take. Buttermilk for that reason. So healthier choices. Nuts also.
But Suman, sometimes the tricky thing with these alternatives, so something like makhana, is you eat too much, dark chocolate, you eat too much and then you have another new problem. Is that something you find happening again and again with your clients? What's the advice you give them with portion control in particular?
This happens, of course. So, there is something, if you miss your 4 hour mark, which is if you had your lunch and you don't have snack till say 6 o'clock, then there is ghrelin level in our body, which goes up. And then you can't satisfy your hunger with just makhana and you keep eating excess of that. So not missing your mark is important. And then, of course, taking healthier choices and having right food in front of you is important. So, go for a fruit, go for coconut water, go for salad. Don't take solid food at the same time. Portion control only happens if you've had your last meal on time.
I see. We're talking about substitutes today, Suman. So very important to understand that, there are easy alternatives available. I don't know how easy than opening up a packet and just eating it like that, but there are options and we are throwing some of them that, you also spoke about earlier on the screen for our viewers also to sort of look at. But the weekend is just around the corner. A lot of parties, house parties are the norm these days are coming up. Can you give us some tips on how to make your partying, snacking options healthy?
So, party snacking options, of course, the easy ones are to go for the dips and instead of chips, use vegetable fingers like cucumber, carrot, etc. But of course, instead of just going for hummus and a hunker dip, there are variations. You can make a red lentil dip, which is amazing. Then instead of just having a curd dip, maybe infuse, say, avocado, like guacamole, along with little paneer and make it like a creamy paste. and use it with vegetables. Then you can easily call for dhokla, which is not a packaged food. And you can make a dhokla bhel, which is so interesting. Okay, with adding some onions and tomatoes and some chutneys. It becomes like a bhel, crush the dhokla, which we do it all the time. Then, stirring up some stir-fried vegetables with paneer, which increases your the bowl of the stir-fried vegetables with uh, mushrooms and broccoli and all the three colors of capsicum. This is our go-to party snack every time, and everyone appreciates. And just some Italian herbs. It's yummy. Then you can also have tikki with sprouts and broccoli. Steam both of them, add some Indian masala, make like a tikki with some binding agent. It tastes really yummy. So many options like this can be thought about, and they are very simple to make and can be had.
But Suman, that's your advice, when someone's hosting a party, can you tell us,
Yeah.
because one of the big problems in India is, you're going to a wedding, you're going to someone's house, you can't say no to the food there, it's considered very bad manners. So how do you suggest your clients in those moments? What do you suggest they do? Because na to keh nahi sakte. So then what do you say we should do?
Yeah, so going to a wedding, having the huge spread of food, I just tell my clients, first of all, fill up your stomach with some hot soup. In weddings and all, in parties, and you go, I tell them to avoid raw food because, India being such a hot and humid country, there could be a chance of lot of contamination. So I tell them go for, say, cheese and with the cheese dip and crackers, or go for soups first and, take some paneer starters, which is protein heavy. So this is what I tell them to choose first. Choose your proteins and your filler first. Then your stomach is full, then go for carbs. So you'll not overeat on carbs. That's what we tell them.
Yeah, yeah. Suman, I also wanted to understand, I think one of the mistakes that people do when it comes to binge eating, and we're talking about, packaged food over here. So is it a lot of times what happens is people confuse their body's signals. Instead of drinking and, sort of filling yourself and giving yourself some water, you end up reaching out to eat something. How does one tell when your body is asking for water and when your body is asking for food?
That in between meals, when we are like, okay, I need to eat something. So as you rightly said, we all are, I hardly get any person who's not happy, who's having enough water. Everyone is just 1 liter to 1.5 liters. So they do confuse. Either it is boredom, or second it's stress, okay, or third it is thirst, which they are confusing with. So first is satisfy your hunger. Your hunger may be wrong signal, maybe with a glass of water first. Then what I do, because I have appointments after appointments, so I tell my staff, get me a coconut water, keep it ready. So in between I take that. That also
Yeah,
gives
good
you
idea.
energy. Yeah, and also a banana, simple banana, which is available everywhere, and it is so rich in potassium and immediately gives you sugar. The brain only works on sugar. Okay, it needs constant glucose supply if you are working hard and you're continuously letting your brain work. So banana gives that instant energy and the sugar to the brain. So that's a very good alternative, and it comes as a whole fruit. You don't have to carry from home. It's available everywhere. So, or
Yeah.
they can get hydrating drinks, like as I mentioned, chas from home and have it in between. Sometimes I have a cup of tea because at least that little bit sugar which comes is also fine. The drip tea, not the boiled chai.
Yeah, yeah. So understand hunger cues, understand when your body is just asking for water and you don't need to really go and eat something, and eat in proportion and eat right. That's the message there. Thanks so much for joining us with those updates. But talking about substitutes, I know the question on your mind is that it's okay to say whip up a dip at home, but how? It's going to take more time than just opening up a packet. So we, spoke with Chef Sneha, who tells us a good substitute to mayo. Mayo, which we all know is very bad.
अपने स्नैक टाइम को बनाइए और भी यमी विद दिस हेल्दी वेजी स्प्रेड. लेट्स मेक दिस. ग्रेटेड वेजीज को सॉल्ट के साथ मिक्स करके 5 मिनट के लिए साइड में रखेंगे. हंग कर्ड पे सॉल्ट, ऑरिगेनो, पेपर एंड लेमन जूस डालेंगे. सारे एक्सेस लिक्विड को स्क्वीज आउट करके वेजीज को हंग कर्ड के साथ बहुत अच्छे से मिक्स कर लेंगे. अब ये वेजी डिप रेडी है. सो सर्व दिस विद टोस्टेड ब्रेड एंड डिग इन.
Okay, yum. That's one way, something you can even implement for breakfast. But if you're not the one to cook at home, what are the options for you then? Because we also wanted to cover if that's your reality. So, if you have to go out and buy healthy alternatives, what can you do? How do you cover that? How can you read your labels correctly? Knowing where that begins is also very important.
And you know, as they say, abs are made not in the gym but in the kitchen. And in fact, the journey starts with our shopping cart. So next time you go out and the weekend is coming, everybody who's into grocery shopping, we're urging everyone to look at those labels more carefully. And if you're wondering how to do that, well, our next guest is going to tell you just that. Joining us now is Revant. Revant has done a lot of work in terms of reading labels right. He now recently has an anthem which says Label Padhega India. He's driving a lot of awareness there. But Revant, welcome to the program. I want to first start by asking you, everything you say sounds so sensible, but so difficult to sort of replicate or change habits. Is that your experience as well?
Reading labels is not that difficult to actually do. The challenge is once you read the label, you realize that almost everything is not good for you. And then what do we actually eat? So that is the hard part. So yeah, I mean, the good part is that slowly it challenges companies to give a better alternative. So it will not happen immediately. It may take 3-4 years, but then the clean food companies will come in, and then the existing companies will also launch better alternatives so that it gets easier for the people. So it's a long journey, and I agree. It's not that it's not going to be a one-stop solution, but already there are other there are ways that once you realize something is unhealthy and you keep a lookout for it, maybe slowly you'll start finding alternatives.
Revant, you yourself are someone who's trained in nutrition, so you know the nuances that are involved here. Tell us how you, when you're in the kitchen or when you're out in the grocery stores, how do you make your choice in terms of what you're picking up?
Once again, if I'm completely honest, it's not easy because in today's age, almost everything is processed, and even the atta we are buying, technically it's coming out of a packet. Nothing is nothing is fully clean, and we're not living in farms. We cannot produce our own food and things like that. So it is not very easy. We cannot make clean choices. We can only make better choices. We can only pick, just the way in politics, you pick the lesser of the two evils. Similarly, in food, you pick the lesser of the two evils. And that is the only thing you can do. So, for example, with chai, that's a common question I get asked. Like, I tell people not to eat biscuits. So, alternatively, you can eat the makhana and the roasted chana and like bhel and modi and murmura and things like that. Now, some people then share clips of that, oh, the murmura was made in an unhygienic way, or the makhana was made in an unhygienic way. So there is no end to it. Then, you just have to pick the easier and better alternative. Similarly with fruits and vegetables, I keep asking people to eat fruits and vegetables, and then people tell me, oh, but even fruits and vegetables are filled with chemicals, and people are putting colors into it and things like that. So there is no end to being perfect. You cannot be perfect with food. You can just choose a slightly better alternative.
Okay. Right. So, Revant, I have to ask you about your campaign. It has a lot of celebs. We'll try and play that up on the screen as well. Some of the biggest celebs in the country have come out and said that, we should be reading your labels. You should be more careful about what you eat. But the reality is also that a lot of these celebs are also endorsing some of these highly processed products. So how do you balance it out, really?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I cannot go after with a stick to every celebrity that what are you doing and things like that. I have relatively the celebrities who supported me are relatively more of the health conscious celebrities. But the advantage is I only look at one thing: are more people getting aware? And if that celebrity has 40 million followers, and if they are able to share it on their page and thereby a few million people reach, more people get aware of this, then it's a win for me. Now, what they're doing in their personal lives, I cannot go after them for that. So yeah, I mean, the only goal is again to try to get India to become health literate, and whatever it requires, that has to be done.
Okay, Rivant, we can't let you go without asking you one last question, which is what's your tip, the tip we should all take home today in terms of how to eat cleaner?
So one thing which I tell people to read labels, but before that I even tell people the best foods are those which don't even have labels. So the fruits and vegetables and the natural products that we have in the market, which they don't have labels. So that is like one thing which I tell people. When I tell people consume things without labels, some people go and consume alcohol because alcohol doesn't have a nutrition label, and then that's like that's a strong lobbying which exists, that a milk packet will have a label but a whiskey bottle will not have a label. That's a crazy lobbying which exists. But yeah, I mean, if you were to read a label, try to pick those products which have one ingredient. Like for example, a clean peanut butter is one which has only peanuts. Or not so clean peanut butter has peanuts and then sugar and vegetable fat and many other things. So this is basically like a quick way to figure out what is healthy or not. Try to pick one ingredient products.
Right, right. All right, Revan, that's a good tip. Buy things which do not have a label at all. So you'll end up in some form or the other consuming clean. So that's the good one that I'll take back home at least. Thanks so much, Revan.